Creating one SOP is a daunting task that unnerves even the most accomplished students. There are a lot of students who come up to us and ask us if they've not done anything during their school and college which is noticeable enough. What do they write? The student was working with KPMG and the student had excellent marks in her graduation as well as in her 12th. She could not get through the business analytics program in a lot of good universities. Now the students ask us what should be the length of the LOR, and the second important question is, when it comes to admissions abroad, they do not just look at your exam score, your 12th percentile or your graduation percentile, but they look into your entire profile holistically. They take into account your personal development, your creative aperture, your values, and the fundamentals that you stand by. They also want to know everything in and around your academics. All of this gets culminated into a document that we call a statement of purpose, also commonly known as an SOP. An SOP is one of the most important documents of your study abroad application. So much that it can make or break your admission chances for your universities abroad. A good and a compelling SOP is definitely a game changer when it comes to admissions to your dream university. However, creating one SOP is a daunting task that unnerves even the most accomplished students. So today, with this opportunity that I have through this platform, I would like to tell you and give you all the insights about how to create a compelling and an impressive SOP. Hi, my name is Amaneesh and I am a study abroad counselor working for SOP Edits Overseas. I am the co-founder in the company and have 10 plus of extensive experience in the same domain. It's my absolute honor to share with you that I have created and worked on thousands of profiles and SOPs. My students have received admits in some of the best universities abroad, such as London Business School, Imperial, Cornell, King's, and some of the Indian colleges such as ISB and SP Jain. Before we begin, I recommend you to follow this two-way approach of creating an SOP. The first step is content finalization and the second is language finalization. So for content finalization, you need to create different chunks of content and put through your information in these chunks before clubbing them all to create an SOP. This way, you can brainstorm on different aspects of your life and the chances of missing on any information reduces manyfold. An SOP, I believe, is a culmination of a lot of questions which are more or less covering your entire life. When you answer these questions in a separate manner and then club them in a story format, you get a very killer and a compelling SOP. So the first segment is Introduction to your SOP. Here, it is completely up to you as to how you want to start. Some students like to follow the present to past approach, where they give a glimpse of the intent of applying to this particular program. Others follow the past to present approach, where they would like to talk about the entire transition or the entire story as to how they get interested in a particular domain. For example, if a student is from a technical background, he or she can talk about the entire advent of technology, how that interested them, and how today they want to learn more and acquire more skill sets in the same domain. Remember, the admission panel has thousands of SOPs to evaluate. So make sure you write something that really grabs their attention. So every word written in the SOPs, and especially in the introduction, is pure gold. The second segment is the school and the college life. Here you need to talk about everything that you've done in your school and college life. So you can talk about your projects, your certifications, your extracurricular activities, any trainings that you've gone under, and anything that you want the admission committee to know that sets you apart from other students. Now, there are a lot of students who come up to us and ask us if they've not done anything during their school and college which is noticeable enough. What do they write? To them, my answer is, you can really answer this segment very smartly by talking about only those sections wherein you have done the compulsory subjects. For example, if you've studied accounts and if you've studied economics in your subjects, you can talk about those subjects and you can talk about the internal projects from those subjects. That will also be a good SOP. The third segment is the work experience. Here, students want to talk about the technical hands-on experience that they have had. They can also talk about the challenges that they have faced during their work. They can talk about the certain trainings and the certifications that they have taken during their work experience. And lastly, they can talk about how this work experience is going to contribute towards their studies abroad. While some students make a mistake of writing anything and everything that they have done in their work experience, others do not have a lot to write in their work experience. So for both these situations, I have a very smart answer to give. You need to write everything what works in your favor. You need to tweak the information in your own favor in a way that it looks enticing to the admission committee. For example, if you have worked on a data science project and you want to tomorrow go for a data science program, make sure you examine and answer everything related to your work experience in the format that it is data science related. That way, the examiner and the admission committee comes to understand that you are very much aligned with what you want to go to study tomorrow. So once you have completely done your introduction, your school and college life, and your work experience, the most important question of the SOP follows now. The answer to this question needs to be there in your SOP, otherwise your SOP would be incomplete. The question is, why do you need to go for this program at this point in time? So अगर आप समझें पूरा कर्व ऑफ योर लाइफ, आप अभी वर्क एक्सपीरियंस में थे, आपने अपना काम कंप्लीट किया एंड एकदम से ऑल ऑफ अ सडन यू फेल्ट दैट यू शुड गो फॉर मास्टर्स अब्रॉड. ऐसा क्यों? The intent should be very clear in your SOP. You need to write this very nicely. Now, there can be various ways to answer this question, but I would like to give you two important ways. The first is, you feel that there is a knowledge gap or a skill gap that you have come to know while working in your organization. And secondly, you feel that you have sketched certain goals for yourself and unko paane ke liye you need a perfect launch pad, and this course that you want to go for the university, this is going to provide you that perfect launch pad. So these are 2 points which you can really elaborate on, and then you can answer this question. So after completing this question, we go to the next segment which asks about other 2 questions. The first is why this university, and the second is why this course. You can club both the questions in one paragraph and answer them. Here, you get a chance to research from the college website, know about the professors that are going to teach you this course, and write about all the projects, the clubs, and the ranking, the reputation, everything about the university in this paragraph. Please make sure that you give your 100% research on this, because the university and the admission committee really want to know that you have researched well before applying to a particular course. So the next segment is the future goals segment, where you need to mention about 2 important goals of your life. Readily after completing your course, you need to talk about your short-term goals and your long-term goals. The short-term goals are the ones that you have envisioned for yourself immediately after completion of the course, and the long-term goals are the ones that you have envisioned for yourself 10 to 15 years down the line. You need to be very specific and not generic with these goals. Let me give you an example. Just mentioning that you want to be a technical person in an XYZ company is not going to work. You need to be specific about it. You need to say that you want to be a data scientist, or you want to be a data analyst, and you want to work in an XYZ company which has these upcoming projects on data visualization, and you want to give your contribution in such domain. That is what actually works. The last segment is the conclusions part, where you need to sound determined about your aspirations and your readiness to get into this program and this university. Make sure you tell about your aspirations in detail and let them know in a conclusive manner as to why you want to come to this rich cognizance which their university is providing you. Now, all the segments of your SOP are complete. This is a chunked format of an SOP. You need to club them all and create a story format so that your SOP looks like a story. One instance after the other, one instance after the other, and so on. That in itself is a good SOP. The second segment of your SOP is the language finalization. When you have put all the chunks of the content together, you need to work on the language finalization part now. Why are we talking about the language finalization as the second part? That is because while creating a structure for your SOP, you need not worry about the language at all. You need to beautify and impressify the language only once your entire SOP is created. Now, once your SOP is at 1 page or 800 to 1000 words in length, start working on the language. Make it more personal yet professional. Make sure you use simple sentences. Make sure you use fancy words, but not at the cost of your sentence structure. Make sure everything falls in a place where it becomes a very meaningful SOP. And lastly, please make sure that your SOP should sound optimistic and determined. After this entire thing is complete, with content finalization and language finalization, you can put this SOP for proofreading. You can proofread it with your professors, your peers, or anyone you trust, so that they can give you a third person's perspective as to how your SOP looks. And then it will be finally ready after all the edits to submit it to your organization. So there is an example which I would like to give you of a very dear student of mine who is currently studying in University of Exeter. The student had applied to a lot of good universities. The student was working with KPMG, and the student had excellent marks in her graduation as well as in her 12th. She could not get through the business analytics program in a lot of good universities. And when she came to me for assistance, I read her SOP and understood in the first go itself as to why she was not getting selected. The reason was that she was working in the marketing domain in KPMG and was wanting to go for a business analytics program. There was a clear-cut intersection of things wherein nothing was aligning with each other. I have to give you a very important framework here. When you're writing about your SOP, make sure these three things are completely in line with each other. Your past, that is your college and your work experience. Your present, where you're trying to get through a particular university. So the course and the university. And your future, where you're wanting to seek a certain goal for yourself and wanting to get to that goal. All these three things should be in line with each other. That is when the SOP has its meaning. That is when the admission committee understands that you're working towards a common goal since a long time, so that you can reach the goal which you have thought for yourself. And that was really missing in her SOP. So we sat down with her, we brainstormed with her, and we understood as to why she was working in the marketing domain and now why she wants to go for a business analytics domain. वो चीज पर काम करने पे समझ आया that there were some marketing projects that required business analytics information and knowledge. And उन चीजों को specifically SOP पे लिखना was really important. वो लिखने के बाद we applied for 2 colleges for her and she got admits from both of them with scholarship. And the student is currently studying in University of Exeter in UK. Ideally, an SOP should be anything between 800 to 1200 words. But these days, a lot of colleges demand for different types of SOPs and different types of lengths of SOPs. So it depends on the college. You can customize your SOP based on what your college demands from you. But ideally, it should be 800 to 1000 or 1200 words, as I said. And the reason behind that is, if your SOP is quite short, you will not be able to culminate everything from your life in that. And if it is quite long, you will be repeating a lot of things and the admission committee might lose interest by the time they end your SOP. So the ideal word limit is 800 to 1200 words, wherein you need to put everything right from your school life till your final goals in those words. And that makes an ideal SOP. So let me tell you about the entire structure that you should follow for an SOP. The first part should be an introduction. The second paragraph should talk about your school and college life. The third paragraph should talk about your work experience. And during the end of the paragraph, you should talk about why do you want to go for this course. And the fourth paragraph should talk about your university and the course which you have chosen for yourself. The fifth paragraph should talk about your goals that you have envisioned for yourself, which is the short-term and the long-term goals. And the last paragraph should talk about a conclusion, wherein you are giving the SOP a conclusion that it is the end and it should always end on a positive and a determined note. So this is the structure that you can follow for the entire SOP, and this basically gets included for most of the colleges abroad. If you want to follow any other structure, it is absolutely up to you, because this is not a mandatory one, but this helps a lot of students put in all the information that they want. So I talked about the most important aspect of the admissions abroad cycle, which is the SOP. Now I would talk about another very important element, which is also called the letter of recommendation or the LOR. I hope this video helps you get a clear idea of what goes into a compelling SOP. Start your first draft today and let us know if this video really helped you in that. A lot of questions are asked by the students regarding the LORs. What is an LOR? An LOR basically is a letter of recommendation. Now the students ask us what should be the length of the LOR, and the second important question is who should write the LOR for them. So now, the recommender whom you take for your recommendations should be, number one, he should or she should know you very nicely, and secondly, they should be ready to answer their emails and calls if they have been directly connected by the university. There are a lot of questions when the students ask us, should we only target to have our recommenders as our HODs and people who have worked in the organization, such as CEOs, vice presidents? No, that is not what is the crux. The important factor is that person should have worked with you, or that person should have mentored you personally. Only then will they be able to answer about you, and only then will they be able to be contacted freely. अगर आपके पास आपका HOD है जिनका direct contact है, well and good. अगर नहीं तो you can go about with your project mentor also. You can check with your classroom teacher also. You can check with your subject teacher as well. Now comes the content of the LOR. Make sure your LOR is not more than 1 page, because letter head के ऊपर बहुत सारी जगह चली जाती है and नीचे भी जगह चली जाती है. So आपका letter of recommendation should only be in that much. So close to about 600 words would be enough for a letter of recommendation.